Good morning, Lon Safko. How are you?
Good to see you there,
Nice to
Mr.
see
Mark.
you. Hi, my name is Mark Fowler, and I'm the president of Stowe Management Corporation. And I'm a business reengineering guy that helps companies in crisis and major systems. And Lon and I have a lot in common since we've done an awful lot of work for an awful lot of years in the computer arena. I'm going to say a few things about Lon, and then I'm going to let him introduce himself. But he's considered an habitual inventor. He likes to invent things. As a matter of fact, one of the things he invented was the first computer to save a person's life, and that was a quote from Stephen Jobs, if I'm correct. You've also been involved in the AI world from the early times in various projects. Um, you've got, I think, 23 books, several bestsellers in the social media computer dynamic world. Um, you've had your own PBS program. You your I think is it 30,000 letters and your computer in the Smithsonian. I think that's enough. What else can you say about yourself?
Oh, yeah, I think you said it all, and most of that was true. So,
Most of it was true. Yes.
yeah, I've just been busy, and just like you, yeah, we got involved in computers early on in our careers and realized how important it was going to be in every facet of business. And you took your ideas with computers and just ran with them, and I took mine, and I yeah, I built the first computer to save a human life. I was also the first to pioneer voice recognition, voice synthesizing, environmental control. Yeah, I have 18 inventions in the Smithsonian, 30,000 professional papers, 14 inventions in the Computer History Museum. I hold 3 United States patents. I run 5 e-commerce websites. One of them just celebrated its 26th year online. I'm shocked. More than a quarter of a century I've been online selling. So yeah, if it has anything to do with technology, I probably am doing it.
Yeah, there's also a website out there about the 8 of the people who started or invented um, technological and not often known. And you're one of them. Matter of fact, you were the person who stimulated that website. Can
Yeah,
you name a
absolutely.
few of those that you celebrate being connected to?
Yeah, it's amazing. In our pocket, we have all this technology, but we have absolutely no idea where it came from or who was responsible or the personal struggles, the stories behind each of these technologies. Of course, yes, I'm trying to put together a Netflix special or a Prime special that features Steve Wozniak. All these years, all we heard was from Jobs, but Wozniak invented all that technology, but he seemed to get so little credit. Again, a friend of mine is Vint Cerf. Nobody knows that name. Well, he's the guy who actually did invent the internet. And that's why they call it surfing the web with a C after his last
Oh,
name. And a friend that we both have, Marty Cooper. He's the guy who actually invented the first mobile phone. Uh, Gladys West, African American woman in the 60s in the Navy. Could you imagine how tough that must have been for her? She invented GPS. So there's all these technologies, but nobody knows whose it is, and I want to change that.
that's great. It really is wonderful to be able to know where things come from. I think a lot of people want to get rid of history, and history is so important, and I think there's so much to learn from where we came, where we've come from, and what it's taken, and one of the I've had about 70 systems that I've either designed or redesigned, and as part of our technology. But one of the things that we invented was a communication technology, a verbal communication technology, and it was amazing. It happened very easily initially, and then to bring it to some kind of fruition, to bring it to the public took forever to really. And we spent so many times in workshops and whatever, but all the hard work to get to a point where we say, well, this actually works. We never, there's a lot more to, what did somebody said? 10% inspiration and 90% perspiration.
Yeah, Thomas
It's
Edison said that, and it's absolutely true.
Edison said that. Yeah,
Yeah.
wow, that's amazing. Well, one of the reasons we've done 3 interviews with you on our Creating Value, Always Creating Value podcast, and you're so much fun. You have so many nuances and ideas and things that it's always fun. Always fun working with you. Um, and I've been watching this AI dynamic. It's one of the first computer dynamics over the many, many years that I've been involved that I didn't either already be there or jumped right in to be involved with. And I've been very cautious. And one of the things that was one of the tools or one of the mindsets that always was there in previous generations of computer development was garbage in, garbage out. We needed to be very careful what we were doing. If somebody bought XYZ product and they ended up with ABC product instead, that was not only did you not make any money on that product, but you lost money on that, and you lost the trust of the customer. So I just don't see it. And so I took to my pen or my computer and I wrote an article that I haven't published outside yet, but I have published on my own website. Garbage in, garbage out, and it talks about how. And you helped me edit it, and I appreciate very much dotting my I's and crossing my T's and making sure that I sounded reasonable. Um, One of the things that was interesting, it goes back to a quote in the 1800s about it used to be expressed as the idea in computing and other spheres, incorrect or poor quality input and always produce fault output, faulty output. It doesn't matter whether we're in computers or in a dialogue or writing a letter or typing something. Why would we have had whiteout? I mean, think about it. Garbage in, garbage out created whiteout, right?
That's right.
Right. Or you went on your IBM typewriter, you could stick that little thing in
Piece
there
of
to
paper.
make that I a T and move on. Um, are you experiencing the same idea or the same event or the same situation that what happened to garbage in, garbage out as it relates to um, this particular generation of computer development? Seems like it's disappeared. People aren't worried. They're I would almost say cavalier about the fact that whatever they say is okay. And have you dotted your I's and crossed your T's? No, we don't really care. There's um, I can't express it. And anything you can say that would help.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. GIGO is what we called it for short. Garbage in, garbage out, GIGO. And yeah, in computer programming, that was really important because you could get massively incorrect results out. And sometimes you wouldn't notice it. In engineering, what they taught us is to look at a number and just get a sense for the range of that number to kind of get a feeling for whether or not what came out of a computer was close to what it was supposed to be. But today we've gone all the way the other way. You and I were having a conversation the other day, and I said, I don't remember the last time I actually balanced my checkbook. I hated doing it. I still hate doing it. And I did it for so many years and never found an error. I'll glance through it, but I certainly am not going to balance it because I just trust the banks to add and subtract the numbers appropriately. And that's more so with this generation and the technology that's in front of us. Another thing I've noticed is that my spelling is getting much worse. I don't care how I spell it because I know autocorrect is going to fix it. And it does. So I don't pay any attention anymore to spelling or to my typing or to my punctuation because I know it's going to get fixed. However, when I force myself to go back and look at it, it's that autocorrect ridiculous joke where that's not at all what I said, and it assumed all the wrong answers. So we just take everything for granted nowadays and assume that AI is going to fix it for us.
Well, when we talk about AI, maybe we should sort of define it a bit. I guess it's been around in ways that we really didn't understand. Like we've had spell check for a long time, and I imagine that would be considered something like a little bit of an AI because you've got this interactive process going on. If you spelled the word ABC and it should be CBA, and it comes back to BCD. You would never know. But was that sort of like the beginning of AI?
Yeah, that has been around for 40 years. Right after they invented the first word processors, they created this autocorrect, or at least a pull down menu that you could manually run it through a spell or a grammar checker. And that was a huge help. But AI has infiltrated our lives. I mean, you're watching Netflix, and at the end of the movie, it says, if you like that movie, you're going to love these movies. Or if you go to Amazon, if you bought that product, you would love to buy these products because that's what other customers did. We don't even realize it, but that's all artificial intelligence. People are uh, using these systems throughout our world. It, basically it's anticipating what the answer should be. But the key word now is hallucinations. AI is not 100% correct all the time. It often has hallucinations.
Hallucinations. They belong in an institution or something, whatever.
Yeah, I think sometimes artificial intelligence is more of an artificial special ed. I, I know that's so yeah, yeah, hallucinations. And one of the examples people were using AI early on, and gentleman put a question is, how do I get my cheese to stick to my pizza? And AI came back and says, just use a gallon of Elmer's glue.
Really,
It was
Elmer's glue.
Elmer's glue, and it
Well,
was serious.
it looks like dairy. I mean,
And it makes things stick.
So when did you think AI became AI and in the AI that we think about today?
Well,
I mean, when did it sort of like the last 5 years, or it's been around? And I mean, you and I have had a conversation about a major project you did where you pulled together um, the transportation of different products between locations and being able to know where things were and whatever. It was beginning to think for itself, and
yeah.
that was some time ago.
Yeah, that was actually 1987, and I think because it's been such a while, I think I can give you a little bit more specifics, which I never do. It's not on my bio or resume or websites or anything, but I was hired by the United States Department of Energy, and I had the highest security clearance in the country. I had a Q clearance, and I worked on the Hanford nuclear reservation and put together a team and developed the world's first artificial intelligent computer system to track weapons grade plutonium and uranium as it went between all the different facilities from the when it was being created in the nuclear reactors right through production and then actually distribution out to the military sites. And that was 1987. But the world had never seen anything like that. And of course, that was top secret. It was all probably ended up in DARPA. And the AI industry slowly infiltrated us little by little over the decades. So really the big shot when everybody started understanding what AI was, it really started about 5 years ago. That's when I started teaching it, just before COVID. I was teaching Fortune 500 companies about this technology. But about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, when ChatGPT first came out, that's when it became mainstream. Everybody started to really understand what AI meant because it was a very friendly, usable tool that was applicable to everybody.
And that was the chat aspect.
Absolutely, yeah. Chat, Claude, Pilot, all of they call them LLMs, large language models. So you can put in some text and it would respond with an answer.
So like you said, you've been doing that for about 25 years. I guess that's been part of your own delivery system or your own order system.
Yeah, yeah, I'm very familiar with it because of the amount of time I've been working with it.
Sure. Well, today, I mean, in the last 2 years, it's accelerated, dramatically. It's also, I'm not here to beat up AI because obviously it's become an integral component to some very positive things, and maybe we could identify it. And I'd like to throw it over to you about that. What do you think it's the most valuable at? I would imagine in the medical field, it's been just enormous,
Yeah, the medical
enormous.
field, absolutely. AI now can take a look at a mammogram, and 98% of the doctors won't see anything wrong. AI will detect something, and sure as heck, when they go in, they actually find a lump that does not show up to even the most leading experts, where they find cancer, and they could save that person's life. That to me is amazing. Finding new medications, especially antibiotics. We have pumped so much antibiotics into the American citizens over the last 40 years. We've built up a tolerance to all of the amoxicillins, penicillins, all of the different types. Now AI can actually work on this and come up with millions of different protein configurations, and it's identifying not just new forms of antibiotics, but actually other medications that humans would never be able to do millions of iterations on in just a matter of days. So it's inventing new medicines every single day.
That's fascinating. Anything else? That's wonderful. Those two, I'd never bumped into those two.
Yeah, and of course you have AI everywhere. I mean, the new airplanes, the A30, the European planes, the Boeing planes, you don't need a pilot. You don't. They can fully take off, fly to a destination, and fully land, all using AI. The pilots are there just to make sure that the AI is operating properly. And we're seeing it too in Phoenix. Phoenix now has Uber has been approved, and all the Uber cars. You go into fly into Phoenix Airport, you order an Uber, and the car pulls up, and there's nobody in it, and you get in the back seat, and it takes you to your destination, and there's nobody in the car.
Wow, yeah, we travel back and forth between our home in Dallas and our home in L.A. and and I forget the name of the taxi service, but I think it's mostly Santa Monica and West LA has. I can't think of the name, but anyway, they're everywhere. I mean, they started. You only see one once in a while, and then all of a sudden you know, they're everywhere. They're right alongside you, or making a left turn in front of you, or
Yeah. And
that,
some states have
that's
already approved AI no driver semi trucks, big haul, long haul trucks.
that's amazing. It's the train without a track.
Yeah.
Um, Now that's more of a very defined, very well defined dynamic that you're going to drive. And but what about the human interaction? There's been I think you told me a story about how one of the first AIs went hilarious, and hilarious may not be the right word, but it went off its tracks and didn't have any tracks. So
Yeah, Microsoft released a chat bot that what it wanted to do is just push it out there and have people interact with it, and it could use artificial intelligence to interact back. What everybody's goal was up until recently is to pass what's called the Turing test. Dr. Alan Turing, the guy who actually broke the Enigma machine during World War II, during the 60s when he was working at MIT with Marvin Minsky on AI, he was saying that the Turing test is the ability to have a conversation through a keyboard or whatever with a computer, but not know if it's a computer on the other end or if it's a human being. And of course, for 40, 50 years, that never was the case. We could always tell that it was a computer answering our questions. And even in the 60s, they did that. They had students on one end, and then they had the computer on other stations, and they would test it. And again, last 50 years, it didn't work. So Alan Turing said, the day that we can not distinguish between a human being and a computer is the day that artificial intelligence is actually born. And that actually happened about 3 years ago. All the scientists officially said we have gone beyond the Turing test, or what they also call the event horizon.
Uh, well, what there have been, you sent me a video about some of the things that have gone wrong with AI that we might want to discuss as well, which is, where I'm going. So much of my business in re-engineering companies and designing systems was about the interaction between, or the connective tissue between the human and the computer. Because unless we want to have all robots, I don't know who's going to pay taxes and work. But somewhere along the line, we've got to be involved, or maybe never. I don't know. Um, and it's to me, that's the interaction, and that's where the garbage in, garbage out comes in situations where you've got like medical and whatever. It's very contained. It's very managed. It's very whatever. But when we're dealing in a day-to-day basis as humans, our own selves, trying to deal, we have trouble just as humans listening to other people and misunderstanding them. I can't imagine that the computer is going to have the ability to understand what we thought we wanted to say as opposed to what we actually did say, and it had nothing to do with what we really thought. My late partner Gloria on our book used to say, How do I know what I mean until I hear what I say?" And oftentimes what's in our mind and what comes out is completely different. So in that particular case, it's garbage out. It's a real, because we're not. So it's more of the interactive. How do you rise the occasion on that little thing?
Yeah, and I didn't answer the question earlier about Microsoft. So they put this chatbot out there, and they wanted it to interact with the public at large. And within 24 hours of interacting with humans, it became the most vile, disgusting, Nazi hating kill. I mean, it was just amazing. And somebody called Microsoft and said, "Hey, did you notice the way your chatbot now is talking to the public?" And then as soon as they see it, they couldn't run in fast enough and rip the wires out of the wall to get that thing offline. And that happened just within 24 hours. So that really is a good example of garbage in, garbage out, because it was pure when it turned it on. But interacting with people turned it into the most vile, disgusting thing you'd ever seen.
Wow. So it's the conversational, the understanding, the emotional, the whatever human dynamic. It has a tougher time with that. It's um, I think you said one time that it wants to be liked or something like that, or it wants positive rewards.
Yeah, it's like a dog. It really is. I mean, it was designed that way. It's first of all, artificial intelligence, just for the audience, is nothing more than an if-then statement. If you see this word, respond with this word. If you see this collection of words, respond with this collection of words. There's no sentient, there's no real intelligence. It's just looking up gigantic lookup tables, large language model, and it comes back with the most appropriate set of words, but it really doesn't know how it's responding. So yes, we can give it a neural network, which is really not neural. It's just really sophisticated, but we can't give computers a soul. It really doesn't know the heart of what we're trying to say, and you can actually see that in the images. You can hear that. My wife's birthday was last week, and I had ChatGPT write her a birthday poem, and it was absolutely beautiful, and I couldn't have done it. But when you read it, there was something missing. You can tell that it was AI. It was brilliant. I could never achieve that, but there's something missing, and that's the thing that computers are never going to be able to replicate. And this is all replication. That's all. It's just imitation.
Well, as I've been pondering for these last couple of years about AI, and sort of jumping in, I think the responsibility for the interaction with AI has to come from us. It has to come from better dialogue, better communication, better focus on what we mean as opposed to what we think we mean, um, and realize that in some ways it is like a human. And when we talk to a human, sometimes we're misunderstood. Even if
Absolutely.
we're trying to do even if we're trying to do a good job, we are misunderstood.
Absolutely.
That's why we have to ask a question, or work with an audience to make sure that they got that information. It's that we can't be carte blanche with this. If we want it to be what it can be, we've got to more be able to be more intuitive, but at the same time be able to clarify the intuition.
Absolutely.
If we
And
have an idea we want to talk about, we have to talk about it in a way that we begin to understand it or articulate it better. Like
absolutely.
just throwing it together and expect it to come back with something um, totally imaginary, totally mystical or intuitive or whatever, um, is really not appropriate. We need to be better at what we're doing. And so it's almost like we need to communicate even better than we ever did before, and not that we were doing a great job of that either. You know.
and
So what do you
you're
think? What do you think about?
well, and you're absolutely right that it wants praise, because I know you had asked that question and I gave you some of the foundation, but it doesn't want praise. That's why at the bottom of all of the ChatGPT in particular, there's a thumbs up and a thumbs down. It wants that thumbs up because it always wants to return an answer that's closer to what you were expecting or what you desire. So if you give it a thumbs down, it changes the algorithm, it changes the programming of it slightly, and it tries to give you something that you might like better. And every time you hit the regenerate, it will keep doing that and will keep waiting for your approval. And as soon as you give it a thumbs up, it locks in that set of instructions so that the next time you ask it a question, it'll give you the kind of response that you want. Well, they call that a yes man in the past. I don't necessarily want my intelligence to give me answers that I'm expecting. I want it to give me unbiased results. So, yeah, it really does want your approval.
Interesting. Now you used it for your wife's poem, which is pretty charming. Um, what what do you think you could do, or how do you want to use AI? I mean, you've been using it, like you said, for a long time. How do you want to use it on a more day-to-day basis, if you want to use it on a day-to-day basis?
I use it so much on a day to day basis for so many different things. I said I run an e-commerce store. I've been running one of them for 26 years. I run five of them. About 3 years ago, when chat just first started coming out and Shopify was getting popular, I said, I wonder. I've been writing product descriptions my entire career. I'm in marketing, and that's what I do. And I thought I did a pretty good job on my 108 products. So I thought, I wonder if chat could do a better job. So I took my description and I gave it a really good prompt. And prompt is the most important part about using AI. The better the prompt, the better the response. The very first product description that ChatGPT returned to me, I I think I literally slipped out of my chair. I could not comprehend how much better it was written. I spent the next 2 weeks using Chat to rewrite all 108 product descriptions for all of my stores, hands down. I meet with clients, small business clients. I meet with four of them a day, 16 a week, 50 a month. So I meet with them for an entire hour. I have to write up notes. I have to write up about a 3-page note summary of what that hour was. In a year, 2 years ago, I'd have to have a yellow pad. That was awful. That was the most awful thing. Now, the transcript, I give it a chat. I said, summarize it, and I want it in this format. So I get the paragraphs exactly with the headings that I want. And it takes 8 to 10 seconds, and it could take an entire hour transcript and give me my report, and I simply copy and paste it. Every day I use it for something.
Wow, that must save you a lot of time.
It's amazing. And it does a significantly better job because the transcript will pick up things that I missed. The name of a company or certification, a dollar amount, because we're having a conversation and I'll miss it. So if I was doing it longhand with a yellow pad, that never would have went into the report. The transcript never misses it, and the AI always includes it because it knows that it's important.
So, in what other areas might you use it more interactive in the sense that the other person's involved as well?
Website analysis. I get a lot of requests from my clients to do an analysis on their website. I used to spend hours. Now I give it a chat GPT, it goes through the entire website, comes back with a 5-page recommendation of strengths and weaknesses and what needs to be fixed. I do business plans, sometimes 40-page business plans. They could take me a couple of hours to go through to make sure that everything is included and that it's succinct. No, now it takes me about 20 seconds because it'll come up with a 5-page analysis of a 40-page business plan. If I'm writing an email to an important email, if another any kind of a report, uh, proposals. Oh my gosh, I love it for proposals. If I have a client that I'm making a proposal to, I'll just type in something, whatever, and I'll tell it clean it up, and it comes back. And you can even give guidelines. You can say, write this as if you're the vice president of human resources for a Fortune 500 company, or you're the executive director, CEO of finance for what. You can give it any parameters, and it will even write it in that style.
Wow, that's fascinating. Fascinating. Well, those are amazing positives. So, how do we go about, helping? You obviously, um, are helping using the business plans, and I don't know to what level you you go to get that. It blows me away. Now, I've been known to do a business plan in about 10 minutes. These are the three most important things you have to do,
Yes.
and move forward, and it becomes a work in process. It becomes as we accomplish things, more things become available, more things become known, more things become important than they were, more important than they were before, because now you have more of a more of a perspective. It sounds like you use it as a right hand up man, a right hand person, a right hand compadre, an assistant. It sounds like it's more than an assistant. That's for sure.
It really is. It's like having a PhD assistant. It really is. No matter what I create, it makes it better. And I've never seen that before because I've always prided myself of generating the best I possibly can. And I've gotten relatively good. But when I see what comes out of this either generative or LLM type AI, I I can't compete. It's so much better. However, it won't do it on its own. I still have to feed it what I'm looking for. I have to give it the data. I have to nurture it and then ask the right questions. One of the things I learned a lot of people don't know today is it's the prompt. It, it's the prompt. It's how you ask the question that's really important. However, what if you used AI to create the question? Which is what I'm now doing. I'll say to it, I want you to create the most amazing prompt that will look at this business plan in minute detail and give me the prompt that will pick out the three most important things and emphasize that, but go through and give me 25 and give me the prompt for that. And it will actually create the question, a 2-page question rather than a 1 paragraph. When you put that back in, the results are staggering because it thinks of everything that I couldn't even think to ask it to ask.
No, but like you said, you had to have the generation of we had to identify needs. You had to look at different areas of I don't want to say trouble, but different key points within the situation. You have to be able to identify. You have to really conceptualize this in order to ask the questions that you would then allow the AI to be able to discern and capitalize on, which is what they're doing
Yeah, that's exactly right.
or what it's doing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I needed a special bio the other day, and I've got bios. And what I said to chat, I said,
Yeah, I know. I remember trying to find one to give somebody, and which one do I choose?
yeah, because there's so many different industries. There's marketing, there's AI, there's training. Yeah, I have four major categories. But one of the things I needed a specific bio, and it could be up to 2 pages. And what I said to it was, is I said, it remembers everything I've ever uploaded or chatted with it. So I said, take everything that you and I've ever talked about, look at my websites. Here's my websites, and they're gigantic websites by now because they've been around for 30 years. And I said, and then I want you to look at everything that's available about me on the internet and take that and turn it into this type of a bio. Oh my gosh. I read through it. I'll bet you there were 25 things that I didn't even remember that I did that was important to that subject matter. And it found it and it worked it into a sentence or a bullet point perfectly.
Oh, well, maybe I should get myself a little more sophisticated at this. Not at the re-engineering of companies. I'm pretty good at that, but
Yeah.
at how to use it in a very effective way. I'm going to slow us down a little bit and come to the end of our conversation. But I think what's most important here is two things. One, there is so much valuable capability in AI. At the same time, there is so much more responsibility. If we really want to use it at a higher octave for ourselves and others, it's really a matter of less garbage in and less garbage out. And like you said, you're really trying to add more value to the process without skewing it with inappropriate stuff. That's kind of the way it is.
Yeah, that's absolutely accurate. And the founders of all of the open AI and all of the companies, they're the first to admit that it's not perfect and it may never be perfect. We have, as human beings, have to take the responsibility to monitor the results. We can't take it at face value, but it becomes so easy just to trust chat that I'll be honest, I'll skim what it writes, but I don't read it. I should.
Yeah, I go back on. I think I know I don't use AI per se. I mean, it's there, but I know with my words editing and there's obviously when I'm doing an email, it's I go back later and I said, that's not the word I said. You know, like I said, that it used a word that because I misspelled or something, it used another word or whatever, and I go, well, I don't think I did that. I begin to shake my head, and so I not only go back once, I go back a couple of times, and sometimes my wife will edit for me, and it does take time. It takes concern. You know, you gotta. I think for me, what's important, people do read, and you don't want them to be skewed. You want them to be, on track with you. You want to be on the same page. At least I do. I want to be heard, and I want to hear. I want them to be understood, and I want to be understood as well. So anyway, Lon, as usual, this is wonderful. This is, back about, I think it was 2022, we did, what was it, Marty and our other friend and you and I, we did a podcast about, the development of, your AI is coming and where is the humans? And I think finally we're beginning to realize that we're really, like we're talking about today, we're really important, but even more important that we really need to raise our octave to be
Totally agree.
best at this.
Yep.
So, and if either one of us can help anybody, my corporation is in Stowe Management Corporation, stowemanagement.com. And how do people get I know I put your name in and it comes up. So, it's Lon Safko. What's the best way?
Just safko.com, just my last name.com.
SAKKO.
SAFKO. It's down in the little.
Yeah, SAFKO, Safko.
Yeah, safko.com.
I think we'll be putting them at the end of the podcast anyway. So
Yep.
whatever.
And
Lon,
by the way,
it's
we do think alike.
real pleasure.
We do
What's
think
that?
alike. I say we do think alike. We have a lot in common. We
I
did
did
not.
this on purpose. You talking about the shirt? I did this on purpose. Yeah, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I bet you he's going to do it. I bet you he's going to do it. So anyway,
How funny.